Hello, everyone. Welcome to IT Tech Talk. I'm your host, Joel Ward, and with me today is Heather Corbin. Heather, how are you doing today?
I'm doing good, Joel. Thanks for having me.
You're welcome. You're welcome. Heather, I know you in the professional space as a photographer. I have been seeing a lot of your photos. They are phenomenal photos. I have a lot of photographers in different areas of fields like nature, architecture, people, and you have some really great talent as far as having the eye to pick out people's greatest qualities. And I loved your milk bath photos you just took. Like, they were like really good. Like, I was like, man, I could never have gotten photography like that when I tried doing photography. I even have a camera that doesn't really get used that much either. So yeah, I know people can't see the camera on the podcast, but they can see it on the live stream. Well, not live stream, but this is a YouTube channel. But yeah, so Heather, could you give me a little background, and my viewers a little background of what got you into photography? What made you find that as your niche, as it were?
Yeah, so I guess it started when I was little. I had my first like Fisher Price camera, and
Yeah.
I
Didn't
have
we all?
I have a younger sister, and we're 9 years apart. And I did a lot of like babysitting with her and watching her, and I would always like dress her in cute outfits and find cute spots and make backdrops and always like take pictures of her. And I guess that was like kind of just the start of it as being something fun, and just slowly and steadily just progressing towards the goal of professional photography and learning and training and pursuing that. And it just kind of evolved and snowballed into opportunities that rolled into more opportunities, and saying yes to things and taking risks and chances, and yeah.
Nice. So what actually, I'm going to bounce back to in a second. I have another question. You now have a studio, correct, in Smithsburg?
I do. Yeah, we opened the studio at the end of last year, and we began renovations, and we opened to the public this past January,
Nice.
2021.
Nice.
Yep.
I've been seeing you actually invited me a couple of things, but they've been conflicting with my schedules as I'm a very busy person. But you have like paint nights, you have like different things, and that's really cool that you're offering not just photography stuff. You're offering different classes and stuff. Now, are these all offered by you? Are you having friends who do stuff like that teach them, or what is with that?
So a little bit of both. We have I teach like the photography classes, so like how to use your DSLR camera,
Nice.
or we offer like private lessons to how to use your camera, or I like to call it momtography. How to take good pictures of your kids, or kid photography. If you have little kids that just love taking pictures, they can we can do private lessons with their phones and do that. I have some people that we like. If I'm trying to think here. Like if we have someone who does, I'm going to use Angie as a example here. So Angie, she's a good friend of ours here at the studio, and she teaches budgeting. So we'll have Angie come in and do like budgeting classes. So if it's like not our forte or anything that we really know how, we'll have people come in and teach that. We also have Rachel here, who is my assistant, and she is the manager of the studio. She does most of the paint nights, and she teaches crochet, and does a lot of the arts and crafts with the kids.
That's really cool. So you offer these to help pay for the studio, or do you offer these to help people? Is it more along the lines of to like just give people something else besides photography? Why offer all this stuff?
Yeah, so we decided to open the studio as just a creative art studio. The sky's the limit on that. With photography right now, it would be really difficult for the photography alone to financially sustain the business. That's kind of how we came to the idea to kind of birth this creative art studio, and have just everything artsy in the studio, and that I can run my business out of the studio, and I can bring clients in and have meetings and have in-person sales sessions where, we can order prints and put together photo albums and, yeah.
Now, do you? I was back to that question that I wanted to ask. With your photography, I've seen you have nice, beautiful books available and stuff. Who does that? Do you do that in house or do you ship out for that?
I ship out for that. Yep. So we use White House. It's a publishing house. So we do all the design work and then we place the orders through them and they ship into us.
That's awesome. Yeah. I've seen a couple of them that you had come in and they look really good. And I think my wife's going to be like, if she catches that, she's going to be like, oh, can you have one made for the babies?
Yeah.
We have a lot of friends in the creative space. Well, she doesn't so much as I do because with the podcast and with me being a web developer and stuff, I have a lot of friends in the creative space. So photographers, web developers, UXers, stuff like that, who are always creating something. Graphic designers. I have a lot of graphic designers, and I myself do graphic design. So
Neat.
I've done a lot of logos over the last few years, and that's substituted my income. I have a lot of not background. I went to school for that. I actually learned it on a whim. So like I actually just do all this on a whim, and someone's like, "Hey, can you do a logo for me?" And I just actually did a logo for a photography guy, a friend of mine, and it looks phenomenal. He loves it. He just slapped on his photos the other day, and it looks great.
Great.
So yeah, I do a lot of work in the creative space, so I understand there's like so much that goes into it. Like a lot of people understand it's like if you do one thing and you stick with that one thing, especially with COVID going on, you won't survive.
Yeah.
Whereas like I've realized to adapt, like my web development company is now marketing and IT company because there's just no way we can survive without branching out.
Right.
So I totally understand where you're coming from with having to branch out and do classes because with only doing photography, because even my friends that do photography have a full-time job because they can't afford their equipment or their time without having another job. Actually, if you get the chance, the Maddie Hunt interview I did, if you have a chance after this podcast to check that out, she is a photographer in Washington, and I can send you the link to her blog. But I met her through Twitter, and she is a phenomenal photographer, just like you. But she does like nature, and she does a couple. She does like family shoots, wedding shoots, but she mainly does nature and stuff. And her mountain shots are phenomenal. I actually have one somewhere in my office over there. It's boxed up right now, but she's another phenomenal photographer. But she did a great interview. But yeah, I have a lot of friends in the creative space, and one thing about the creative space, and one thing I have pushed on in the last few months is that it's so easy to get into the creative space. And I don't know for you if you would agree with this, but starting a photography business with your phone nowadays is really easy because they have so many filters and stuff, and it's basically like having a DSLR in your pocket. I don't know if you agree with that, but I've seen a lot of people use their camera phones and have come up with some great shots.
Yeah. Yes and no, for sure. Yeah. And that's a big reason why we wanted to do the studio, to kind of bring back that customer service and just that personableness with our clients, to bring them in and be like, hey, we're not just going to give you your digitals and say bye. Like, we can if you want, or, we can sit with you and walk through this process, and we can, if you have a blank wall in your house, we can sit down and look at it with you and map it out for you, and kind of bring that personalness and that service back to the community and our clients.
That's awesome. So what you're saying is people like come in, they say, hey, can you help me with make this wall look snazzy with photos? You do that. That's awesome. Whereas like some people are like, here's your photos on a thumb drive, have a good day. And that is kind of frustrating. Recently I had a photographer who I just told you through text, we had for the longest time, and now they have backed out and told me when I asked, said we need photos done, they said, oh, I don't no longer do them. And I'm like, okay, well, whatever, that's great. And so whatever, but whenever, a service is offered, and I agree with you on this is 100% awesome, is whenever you offer a service, you go the one step more.
Yeah.
You don't just offer the service, you go a little bit better than what the next person's going to do, because that makes you personable. and people will see that and they're like, oh my goodness, I'm going to recommend them to the next person. And one of the things that I live off of is recommendations,
Mm-hmm.
and people reviewing me real well. And if people give you a good review, that's going to help you a long way, better than if you just said, oh, here's your thumb drive, have a good day.
Yeah.
You went the extra mile and said, hey, can I create a space for your house that's going to showcase these photos? And I think that's awesome. So as far as that goes, do you sit down? I know you said you showcase rooms. Do you also sit down and have them design the books? Like when you're designing the books for like that you're selling,
Yeah.
like do you do that as well? Like graphic the
We
books?
do, yep. And it really depends on the client. We offer it all. We can, you can have your digital gallery and you can take it and do it with it as you please. You can have us mock something up and we send you proofs of everything, and then you can tweak it, or you can come in and we can, sit side by side and do the whole thing together. Personally, I when we get our photos taken, I love having my digital images and just doing what I want with them. But that's also because I am in this area, this world of the photography, but I kind of know what I'm doing with it. But I know there's other people that are like, now what? And I don't want to just be like, well, go to Shutterfly or go to Costco, figure it out. Like, I kind of want to be like, well, don't worry about it. Like, I got you. I don't want you to have your images and wait 6 months for you to print them out and put them on the wall. Like, I want to help you get that done,
Yeah, and the prices you sent over to me for the shoot that we are going to be doing here soon actually is reasonable. And there's a lot of people who, and one of the things I've realized, you could charge $50 for a shoot, and you can do really nice quality editing, and you can pay $100 for a shoot and $100 for editing, and it still is the same thing. But what I've realized is people who offer more offer better services than someone with $50. Like what you're offering is, I'm assuming what comes with your package. So the $145 that you're charging me, what comes with that? Is it your time and your editing, or how does that work?
Yeah, so my all-inclusive family sessions are $145 for up to 5 people. And they're like, I think it's maybe 15 each additional. And that's just because of more time and more editing. And then that covers all of my time pre, during, and post handling your session. So any of our communication before, my being on site during, and then the editing after. It also covers, because we are a registered business, we have to pay taxes and we have insurance, so that that factors into it too. Also, with our system that we use, we have a customer portal that you have your own user password to, and it's like a hub for all of your images, and you can place orders online. You can self checkout. You can self checkout and order through us without even talking to us if you wanted to.
That's so cool.
It's really nice.
So I've never So in the people I have as friends who do photography, they don't have that. That's one step that I think is even cooler, that you have that set up, that you have a portal. I did have our wedding photos were done by a friend of mine, and he set us up with it. He built a website with the photos. He didn't put them on a hub. He built a website and then put a password and stuff. And I haven't been able to contact him lately, and I haven't been able to get the site back, so now we don't have our photos. So I'm like, I do think I have them on a thumb drive somewhere, hopefully, but we don't have our photos. So it's a lot of communication when you're a professional. And one of the things I have I am on my phone 24/7. Doesn't matter if I'm on the road, I stop somewhere and then send messages, because one of the things I've realized as a professional in the space, creative space or business space, is you respond back immediately. If you can. If you can't, you get back with them within 2 to 3 hours, because being punctual and being responsive gets you more business as a business owner. And one of the things that I really get frustrated on is I know people have their lives, but if you're not going to take the time, like we've had several businesses that I've worked with recently, and they didn't get back with me right away. And one of the things that frustrated me was is they got back to me and, oh, I'm so sorry it took so long, we were so busy. But a little bit like, hey, we see your message, we'll get back to you as soon as possible would be nice. And I
Yeah.
send those a lot. We're like, hey, I see your message. I'm going to send you a detailed
Yeah.
email as soon as I get back to the office or as soon as I get a chance to. And people appreciate that. And one of the things I appreciate about you is you were responsive, you're on time with it, and you're like, hey, here's the information, and it's this and this, and it's punctual. And in a lot of people in the photography space, and I'm not talking about my friends who do it, I'm talking about other people. When I was when I was needing to get photographers before I
Right.
knew people in photography, they weren't punctual. They were slow about it, and I've heard several things even about venues, wedding venues, with friends who are trying to get wedding venues this year. People aren't responsive. They're getting back to them, and then they'll be slow about it, and they're like, "We
Right.
need this information now." And you as a business owner, and this goes into the entrepreneurship thing. And people who are listening know I talk a lot about entrepreneurship because it's a big thing, a big part of my life. I have made a lot of money in the entrepreneurship space. Is that you need to be responsive. You need to get back with your clients, especially for you. If you don't get clients, because especially during COVID, I'm sure you can agree with this. COVID has really killed business, and if you're not getting back with people, they're going to go somewhere else. And if they go somewhere else,
Yes.
you lose business, you lose money, and money is what is taking a lot. Because I just bought a house, and this whole thing behind me is my new investment that I just paid for, and one of the things I have to do continuously to make money is to continually respond to people, and even if I'm working at my work or on the go, I am responsive, and that's what has gotten me. And people will ask me sometimes, how did you get successful? It wasn't because I just started out that way. It was because I was responsive. I met with people, and right now I do a lot of Zoom calls. Like our meeting that we finally got to do. I literally my calendar is so booked up anymore. It's like my wife's like, "Do we
Yeah.
have time to do anything?" And I'm like, "Yes, in the evenings." Like it's later. Like I schedule for the afternoons because she's still at work. And then when I get done, I spend time with my family. But I schedule a lot of my meetings because I take a lot of meetings anymore. I have emails constantly. But that's the thing is I respond back, because if I don't respond back, those people aren't going to go on my show.
Yeah.
They're not going to work with me. They're not going to support me. And you can agree with this, is that, you being a photographer, you want those clients. You want people to come back because, you want that. I see so much light in your creativity. It's like when I see some of your photos, I'm like, wow, she really took the time. And that's one of the things I really appreciate about your photos is you took the time to edit them, to do all that stuff. And you can tell that your creativity is there. It's not like you're like, oh, this is what I need to do to make money. You're actually taking the time and creating something that someone's gonna love, and I like that. So going into that, what makes you? Oh, I'm trying to think how to ask this. What makes you really want to do this every day? This is your full-time
Yeah.
job, correct?
Yes. Yep.
So what makes you want to keep doing this? Is it the fact that you just love photography, or is it the fact that you love seeing people's faces when they see their families, like their whole family or themselves just portrayed in the way
Yeah.
you portray them?
So I love going above the expectation that people have right now on photographers. I love kind of under promising and over delivering, and when people meet me or see their galleries, they're like, oh my gosh, or like, how in the world did you get my kid to smile?
Yeah.
Or you're like incredible with my kids, or like I genuinely just love connecting with families during their session, and that's why we rarely offer mini sessions, because I want to connect with my families, and I want to spend time with them and talk to them. And when I take the time to do that, then the pictures, the natural and genuine, authentic connection between the families come through in my pictures. And when I have only 15 or 20-minute blocks with my families, I've noticed that, they're more stiff, and they're more, because the families haven't had time to get to know me, and I haven't had time to get to know my families. And so I like changing the norm of the photography business, and I like giving my clients that seamless experience through, from the to your proposal to all of our communications to when you get your gallery to the follow-up emails. It's all seamless and easy, and kind of seeing my clients not used to that, not used to that professionalism. And then on top of that, being able to do what I love and take pictures. It's like, wow, this is cool. Wow.
Yeah, no, that's one of the things that made us, well, I know you go to Lifehouse. I know that much. And or you did, or you still do, or I think I see you every once in a while, but like I don't really, I have like I think you were there a couple Sundays ago and I said something to you and I was like, "Oh, these are photos, like you were taking photos." And I think I was like, "Wait, that was Heather." And I was
No,
like,
I mean, we haven't
but
been there in a couple months. We've been watching on live, just because I don't want to take my kids right now and they have to be masked and all that stuff. Like they have to deal with that crap during school.
Oh no, I totally get it. It is a process. But no, so I connected with you. I think someone was like, "Hey, do you know Heather?" And I think that's how I connected with you online. And they're because I was asking about photographers, and they said Heather is a good photographer. And I think I got your name from someone at the church, because that's how I mostly meet people at this point. But no, so like I've seen how you react with certain people and like their photos and like their faces. It seems like I've seen tons of photographers. I've seen tons of, photos. I've seen tons of photos, and people just seem in their photos. If you're not personable like you are, and you're not, maybe it's because if they know them, they're happy. But then I've seen people who are like, they get their photos done, they just don't look authentic, and it's maybe because they're pushed and rushed, and they're like, it's not fair to them. Whereas you take the time and you actually get to know your clients, so that way they like feel comfortable and they're not just like, oh, this stranger's taking pictures of our family. And that's more important. And it is. And I'm not in the same space as you, but as far as like being personal with clients, because since I'm the CEO of most of the all of my companies actually at this point, I handle all the day-to-day, all the meeting with clients, because I like to be on the front lines of it. I like to make sure everybody feels welcome and happy. Like, not just, hey, we're doing your computer today, we need to, get in here and get out. Like, we get in there, we have conversations like, hey, you're doing like my buddy who does real estate. I'm like, hey, you do real estate, like I want to get your office set up to run at its best. Like, I want to make sure everything runs perfectly. When I design a website, I go in and I ask them questions and I design it and I put it out there and I'm like, hey, does this look good? And each step of the way I make sure everything is correct. I do not want at one point say, hey, I don't like how you're talking to me about this. I think it should be this. I'm like, hey, tell me what you think. If it looks horrible, I will change everything. So yeah, I totally get being personal is awesome, because if you're not personal with people, they're not going to be receptive to it. And I can see that in your photos.
Big thing too, like, going through, when I'm going through my training and learning and taking classes and stuff, a big thing, there's a lot of big no-nos according to, people out there. And it was a lot of things where I was like, well, why? And I'm always the person to ask why and kind of question and push things and be like, so, I remember specifically one of the big things was never show your client the back of your camera when you're, during your session. And that was one of the things that I was like, why? Like, what are you hiding? Or just why? So that's something that, especially with seniors, I know that they love that, because most of them are very self-conscious and they have, their confidence, especially starting the sessions, their confidence is low. And when I can just be real and honest with them and be like, hey, like, look at you, look, this is awesome. Do you like your hair? Do you want to change sides? Do you want just kind of bringing, that into the session? I know that my clients really appreciate that. And even like with moms, I know a lot of things with moms is like, oh, hide this, or can you do this to me, or make me look like this. And 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 I get it. I'm the same way when I get my picture
Yeah.
taken, and so me being able to flip the camera around and show, like, hey, do you love this, or do you want to try something different? I know that they really appreciate that. They're gonna, put these on their wall. They're gonna. Oh, I want them to. I want them to put them on their wall. I want them to, every time they look at it, just, their hearts melt a little bit.
Yeah.
And I know that that's what happens with my pictures on my wall. Like, so I want them to be happy with it.
Yeah, and I actually like that too, because when someone's like, "Oh, that was a great shot," I'm like, "Well, can I see it?" Like, I know it's a raw picture, but can I see it? Like, I want to see it too. Like, I'm very visual. So if someone says it's a good shot, I'm standing there, I'm like, we all look horrible. Like, how is that a good shot? And then I see it and I'm like, wow, like that was a good shot. And I've actually had a friend of mine took a couple pictures of me for my business stuff. And she was like, oh my gosh, I got a good shot of you, like for my LinkedIn and stuff. And I was like, oh my goodness, I want to see it. And she's like, are you sure? She's like, I don't know if you'll like it. She's like, until I edit it. I was like, no, let me see the raw thing. And I looked, I was like, oh, that was perfect. You caught the light well. And she's like, wow, you really have an eye for it. I was like, I told you, I'm not very picky. Like, I want to be hands-on with it. So I like that you do that, because I guarantee you there is people out there who, like, you're clicking the camera and you're like, oh, I got a really great shot, you guys. And they're like, well, we would love to see it too. Like, you're share the moment with us.
Too. Like,
and that's, and
some part of it is like, I might think it's a good shot, but I don't know what you might be insecure about, or I don't really know, I don't know what your child really looks like. Like, they might be showing me their smile, but that could be their fake smile. So it's like, I like to deliver, even in my galleries, different facial expressions and different kinds of shots, and even shots that I think that parents won't like. I've had parents buy pictures of the ones where their kids are screaming at the top of their lungs because they think they're hilarious, and there would be photographers out there that's like, don't give them that picture. And it's like, well, this is real life. This is, why are we going to try to make life look perfect? And it's not. This is the stage of life that this family is in, and there's beauty in it.
Yeah. And I like the comment you said about shaking up the photography industry. That's awesome, because if you just do what everybody else is doing, you're not doing something different. It's just a regular thing that everybody's doing. And if you step out of the normal and you do something different, then people are going to be like, wait a minute, she's doing something different than what I'm used to. I want to see more of this. And that's awesome, because, like, buying pictures of your kids when they're screaming so you can be like, that was you 5 years ago. That's awesome. Like, and the fact that you're willing to sell those to people is even better, because a lot of people will delete those and be like, oh, your kid was screaming. I'm like, but I wanted that shot. And they're like, well, it's already deleted. And it's like, but I wanted it. And I think that frustrates a lot of people. And I'm sure there is people out there who, like, really wanted that, and then they don't get it. And, the rawness of it is great. Like, I'm more of a perfectionist. I like to make things look perfect. Like, if you've seen my Instagram page, everything, I try to make everything look perfect. But the reality of it is, nothing's perfect. And when you get those shots, like, where the kid's like, like they're smiling or big, you're like, that's my kid. Like, they may not have a smile that's like people are gonna like, but it's raw, it's awesome. They're my kid, and I have kids that, my daughter and my son. My daughter just turned 3 today. It's her birthday today. So after this, I'm gonna be going to buy her gifts. But so, and my son's birthday is actually this month too. But my kids are just like, we had a photographer, and I'm not going to mention names because I don't like to mention names about certain people, because just, like, in case someone's like, oh, yeah, whatever. But they took pictures of us when my kids were screaming, and they made it look like they were laughing.
That happens.
And I was like, oh, thank God. Like, this would have been awful. Yeah, it would have been awful if they looked like they were crying, because people are going to think I torture my children. So, yeah. So, like, going the extra mile, being personal, being communicative is one of the things as an entrepreneur. And I know we didn't really talk much about entrepreneurship, but being an entrepreneur, be communicative, be communicative. Oh, I can't speak. Be personal.
Yeah.
And be raw with people. Like, be real. Do not be fake. And you will succeed. You will. I'm actually writing a book right now, and I haven't really talked much about this in the podcast, but I'm writing a book right now where it's basically I talk about being real and raw with people, and just showing up and being communicative. Because if you're not that way, no one's going to be receptive towards what you're selling, towards what you're doing, towards your business model. That's that's how it is. I've learned. I mean, I used to be, I wouldn't say rough with people, but I wasn't friendly enough that people were going to buy into what I was doing. And when I started being more receptive to that and being real and communicative and personal with people, people started receiving that better, and I started selling my products, my business better that way. So, Heather, we have hit our time. I'm so thankful we got to do this. It was really fun. I really appreciate it. I look forward to working with you with our pictures. My wife is actually super excited because I showed her some of your photos, and she was like, "Oh my gosh, I want to do this." So she's actually really excited. I'm going to shoot you guys over
some wardrobe tips.
Yeah, so
too, so I'll help you on that.
Okay. Yeah, I'm very. If it's nice out, I'm probably wearing a nice polo with like an Under Armour polo because I like the brand name. But I'm probably gonna be wearing a nice Under Armour polo with some either khakis or some shorts like I did last time. But or I'll wear a nice dress shirt. But I'm very picky about my style because I don't wear many dress down clothes. I have a lot of dressy clothes. If anybody's ever seen my closet on Instagram, it's dress. Nothing dressed down. So like I'm very proper, especially because I'm in the business space a lot. There's never a time where I'm not working. So being that I'm always working and always in the business space, I have to be professional all the time. And real quick before we get off, it goes back to trying to be raw with people. I try and be as raw, but also as real to myself. I like dressing up. I like being proper and going. I like to be raw though at the same time, because if I'm not personal with people, it's not going to work. But I also don't like to be fake with people. So when people are like, "Well, you dress up all the time," I'm like, "That's me though. I don't dress down because." Yeah, and I'm always in when I'm in meetings, people are like, "Wow, you look really nice." Like everybody else here is wearing a T-shirt. Like, and you're in here with a nice dress shirt and with good pants on. Like, what the heck? Like, sorry, that's who I am. So, that's another tip I can have if you're going out into the space in the workspace, whether you're working for someone or working for yourself, just make sure you're appropriate in the workplace, like dress nice and appropriate, because people are going to receive that better. All right. Well, Heather, thank you so much for joining me. Thank you to all listeners who tune in every day or weekly. Please stay safe out there. We are still in the middle of a pandemic. I know that there is restrictions and people are not happy with it, but please just stay safe and tune in to hear us Thursday, because Justin Simpson will be joining me again to talk about SpaceX and a special space update. Thank you very much and have a great day. All right, hold on.